What do I believe about life? Well, I see people go to the hospital to have babies. So I see people being born. I see people go to the hospital to die. And I see people die. Never seen a person evolve into another species. I've never seen a person be born from another species. And I I know that nobody's perfect. I know that even churches today, it's common college type procedure to sell our uh, what do you call it, status or reputation, to label ourselves as successful by having college degrees and things like that, and showing our uh, resumes, our work resumes, our qualifications. And so people who support each other end up saying, this is the greatest person that ever lived about people. And you know, and a lot of people do a lot of good things. They try to do good things. They try to live up to standards. But nowadays, we will talk about somebody like in a way to promote a job or in the pastoral ministries or whatever it is, as if, well, I put it like this: there's no way anybody in the history of the world has ever been or could be as good as we depict people for the sake of helping them keep their reputations or keeping a job or getting a job. So we look at a lot of things superficially, you know. So when it comes to being real, people are not very real. We don't face reality a lot of times. A lot of people, most of us, I guess, will imprison ourselves to keep the reputation that somebody painted of us as being Mr. or Mrs. Perfect for the business, for sake of business, really, for the sake of money. So nobody's perfect. So, God, I do believe that we were created by God because, like what I just said earlier, what have I seen? What have you seen? People go to the hospital and be born. People go to the hospital and die or die at home. Sometimes they're born at home. Everybody has a father. And now some people may be led by the government to believe they don't have a father, and but they were created with artificial insemination by a man somewhere. Uh, so it's not mothers that do that. Mothers are the vehicle through which um, the father has placed a child. But so everybody came from a father. Science is trying to find ways to make fake human beings, but we all came from a father. If you trace history, I saw an interesting piece on Facebook today where somebody shows how all the disciples of Christ died. Well, that kind of proves the history of Christ. The fact that they were all killed later in life, except for one, and I forget which one, but they were all killed for believing in Christ, and people mocked them. And I'm not sure if I'm going to run out of time here, but people mocked them for believing in the cross and all. So some of them were crucified. Some of them were killed other ways. But see, that's one thing special about the United States and a lot of countries that have followed our lead now, actually, is that the freedom of speech and all those kind of things were created so you don't have to die for what you believe in. You're supposed to be protected. It's considered murder to kill somebody if it's not an eye for an eye and a tooth for tooth. If you haven't killed anybody, you don't deserve to be killed. So if you have, you do deserve to be killed. That's what an eye for an eye is. but doesn't mean you can't grant mercy. So um, we have some strange things going on in the United States today, where you know we got mostly the Democrat side of people, and which is run by gangs and mobs too. Is they pretend they're against killing, the death penalty, and they'll judge you for supporting the death penalty for people who have killed people who deserve to be killed because they killed somebody. And I'm saying kill, I mean murder. Uh, there's self-defense killings. That's not the same as murder. So the law was made to preserve life. So if you're killing 50 people, innocent people, uh, murdering 50 innocent people, and then you're put to death by the law, by a justice system, and you're still trying to kill people while you're behind bars. By the numbers, it saves lives to put that person to death. But I've had people argue that against me. And those same people is the point. Here's the point: those same people are for killing babies, and they're for the killers and their posse to kill people over just drinking a beer if they act up while they're drinking a beer and don't act sophisticated. Or sexual. They like to kill people for uh, sexually expressing themselves, those kind of things. And certainly those things can be indecent, and sex is only supposed to be within marriage. But the point is, it's not. It's, you know, Sexual sins usually aren't death penalty worthy. Most if they haven't hurt anybody, why do Democrats think they can kill people for that? Let their mobs kill people, and then pretend they're against the death penalty for a serial killer. So they've created an army of serial killers in the prisons, and now they release them a lot. That's who they would like to pardon, I think, I guess. But uh, and it's not that doesn't work toward a safe society or a safer society. So I've gotten on a little analysis follow up here, but I believe the Ten Commandments. God said, "Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery." First of all, he says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." And all evidence shows that the whole Bible shows straight up the line. It shows the family line all the way up to Adam. So, I mean, and it shows that black, white, Asian, uh, or you could call it African, European, Asian, Arabian, Arabs, Indian. That covers most the ethnicities. Italian, it's a different language, but it falls along really in the Caucasian, European ethnicity. We all came from the same root, according to the Bible. We all came from the way we got ethnicities was not skin tone; it was language change. So when God changed the language at the Tower of Babel, we all moved to different regions of the earth. Obviously, if you live by the equator a few thousand years, your DNA has more vitamin D, and your skin's going to darken to protect people from the sun, equidistance from the sun, and things like that. That, uh, but scientists, evolutionists, don't want to study those things. They want to discredit that, but so because it doesn't show that we all came. They want to disprove that we all came from one root, from the Bible, from Adam and Eve, from God. Ultimately, from God is the root cause of where we came from. So the Bible shows that timeline. It takes years and years and years to show our timeline. So I mean, uh, I'm still waking up. Our genealogy. So it's hard to defy it. They've been trying. Every generation has tried to disprove the Bible. For what? And they pretend somehow they've gotten control, lots of control and power, and are able to brainwash people into thinking they care about them, and through TV now these days, they show a lot of affection through sitcoms or whatever. just talking, being able to have the front row, having the best, some of the most talented performers, and funniest, smart, funny people, and you know, you don't have to be smart to be loved by God. You don't have to be the most talented to be loved by God. Um, you don't have to be the best singer to be loved by God, or to be effective even for God's purposes. Um, you don't have to. Basically, you use your talents to help put the message out of eternal peace and promote not killing, not stealing, and not be like the Democrats who only promote not killing, don't kill the killers. So, uh, yeah. So, I do now. Just on that note, I do believe in mercy, and but if there's got to be a better system. You got to, if they're still trying to kill people within, then they're not helping anybody. I believe you can use medicine to sedate people who are trying to kill people. Sedate them so you can feed them. They're trying to kill you while you give them food, all that kind of stuff. I'd believe in trying that. And if it doesn't work, you can't just keep taking up and we're not building enough prisons to hold all the killers that they don't put to death. So you've given them time to trust God. The reason to keep people alive and give them time and mercy is to give them time to repent and trust God before they are put to death, because you don't want them to go to hell. They have a chance to choose heaven before they die. So, I mean, now on that note, it is a relief when you get to heaven. It's a relief to see that all the evil is put in hell, and held captive by hell, and there is no more evil. So that's a spirit realm. The people who chose evil here chose it. God gave us a choice of heaven and hell. It's real simple. Heaven and hell. Life is short, and then you have heaven or hell. And you have, during the short life, you have a time to choose. So plenty of time to choose. So we're distracted by all kinds of things. Sometimes the other people distracting us. So I mean, if you by with your workload, or if you're brainwashed into working three jobs to make your bills, then and you have never had time to think about anything that matters in the next life or anything like that. Sometimes that's other people's fault for making life that hard. I guess not being fair, being greedy, the system being greedy. There's a lot wrong with the system. I've studied the system, our rental system. There's a lot of tricks in the rental system that's meant to steal from private ownership. You know, there's a lot. Uh, there's competition from the government housing, subsidized housing, competing for uh, free market rentals have had to compete with them and raise their price. There's reasons they want to make people homeless on purpose. Like, there's no more affordable housing in America. Not anymore. There isn't. There. What was the word? Affordable housing. They may allow. Okay, well, will they allow only white people in affordable housing? No, I don't think so. Not in America. They may used to only mostly allow black people in affordable housing when it's government run affordable housing. And now it's immigrants. So but more than black or white people who are American that is. So a lot of those homeless or the housing authorities, they close the doors. They say, don't come talk to us here. They'll say that to people. And but and don't call us. We'll get in touch with you. And people wait 2 or 3 years, and they're not allowed to even see if their names moved up a list. So it's an invalid thing when Fox News. I've heard. I guess I like Fox News mostly, but some of them. Usually, it's the libertarians who they present some good ideas, but then they're pretty far off on some things and how they can judge people. As far as sometimes they make jokes about it, they have good comedians, but they think homeless choose to be homeless and those kind of things. But and they just call them addicts or whatever. But then they forget there is a dealing group, a slave master group, by the way. And the way they talk about it, it complements the slave masters and the dealing slave master crowd to abuse the addicts, I guess you could call them, or consumers. So I wouldn't call them all addicts. I'm sure it is. It's nice to have a little medicine sometimes if you're scared of bullets flying or getting stabbed and all those kind of things, and you're dealing with flies and wondering if you're going to get struck by lightning. All those kind of things out there are real, and so you know it's uh, back to analysis of that. Let's see, I'm gonna lost my point before that, but so what do I believe about life? I believe people are sinners. I believe some people love power, some and lust after power. Some people lust after money, and then no matter what somebody's vice is, it takes them away from loving God and loving their neighbor. Some vices are more influential than others. They're all forgivable, but some are worse than others. Killing somebody, if somebody you kill somebody, you can't bring back. They're not. It's done. You steal from somebody, you can pay it back. But our system today doesn't allow that. They don't have people pay folks back nowadays. But they should. That's what the system. So we put people in. Sometimes we'll put people in jail for longer than they should be in jail when they could just go. Sometimes it can be worked out. Something can be worked out with a little help, a little interference. Somebody can pay somebody back without going to jail for something they stole. Um, Sometimes people can pay a person back instead of being killed by the person they owe. That's something that happens a lot today. But uh, but one thing is obvious that we're all sinners, and now some people think that they're not one. So um, sin is actually, even though it's fun for a season, a lot of it, it's actually not fun. It doesn't bring peace. So actually battling our desires, our wrongful desires, and trying to learn and understand what things we are allowed to enjoy. That God gives us enjoyments, but they're all temporary. They're not something we can't fall in love with. Uh, Being comfortable, totally comfortable. We should enjoy comfort, but I guess we can fall in love with being comfortable in another sense. Being comforted by knowing we have eternity. So you see how it's easy to you got no matter what you figure out here, uh, you can be doing something good and twist that you, by accident even, or get too comfortable in it. So it's um, I'm gonna get back to 2 points before I forget. Um, I went through a little. I knew it would turn into this if I didn't map out what I was gonna say, but I don't want it to go more than 25 minutes, and it's hopefully even 20 if I can do that. I'm at 18 minutes. So, do you? Um, I'm blank. My mind's asleep. I'm fasting right now, by the way, so that's going to make it harder to think. I'm used to having brain food, and uh, and I'm fasting. Not I'm not bragging about fasting for spiritual reasons. I'm not doing it for spiritual reasons. Partly for spiritual reasons. I'm doing it for dietary reasons. So today I started a short fast. If I can finish today, feel good. I'll do tomorrow. I'll do the next day, maybe. And but I've kind of broken a caffeine habit recently. Just finally came off. I mostly quit coffee for a while now, and but was doing chocolate, sometimes tea, and quit the chocolate now, and so I felt pretty good. Like I've got my diet into a point where I thought now I should. And I was eating so many health foods that I was glad to be stocked up on health foods more and quit eating the other and kind of trying to strengthen myself and didn't want to go on a fast because I thought, man, I'm eating all this healthy stuff. So, but I got to a point where I'm feel like, okay, I've eaten enough and it's time to fast because I've gained weight too. So then don't want to pop any hernias from gaining weight fast. And but fasting has always helped me. It's a good thing. So I know my point I wanted to go to was back to the disciples. Just I wanted to linger on a little bit on that thought of how they kind of that's more evidence of Christ being real. You know, now we don't like I said. A lot of people say, "Well, look at them, look what they had to go through." Well, we don't have to do that. We've today because we have the freedom of speech, we've been able to share. You know, part of the reason they went through their suffering, by the way, was being put to death. Is they went to. I was reading that and never really thought about it so much, but they would describe how one person went to Armenia, Turkey. They went to different parts of the world. I mean, closer in their regions, but outside of Jerusalem, outside of Israel. And one was Ethiopia, killed in Ethiopia. So um, they went to places that didn't witness the crucifixion. So, and that's what they're talking about. So people thought they were crazy there or whatever, or blasphemous, and they hadn't heard that story yet. So when some of them died, they actually went and established a church and some different churches and different lands, not close to there. So they were spreading the gospel and successful in that. But today, everybody's heard it, and we're educated enough. Now, the Democrats are trying to uneducate the world, not just America, but they don't want people having the freedom of speech or the freedom to be taught religion and history and all those things, and the right to speak about those things. And so they're bringing death back to people. They're bringing violence back to people. But in America, the way the laws are written, you don't have to get killed for talking about Christ and love your neighbor. You can actually promote love your neighbor. How's that? Well, so then so they don't want to promote love your neighbor God's way. They want to get rid of that and pretend that they're the friendly ones and the people who believe in Christianity are mean, and then they'll show there are perverted groups. Very few perverted, the ones that are perverted to the level of uh, being not loving their neighbors and all that. They used to show that in the media all the time. And if they're talking about Christian, they'd show the only three, four, five, or six, maybe 10 bad churches they could find in the whole country. But I mean, now I'm saying there are a lot of more churches that are off in their theology a little bit. But as far as the really the churches that have cultish stuff where they're hurting people and stuff like that, those are very few out of thousands and thousands of nice churches. Thousands and thousands and thousands. I wish I knew the number, but I guarantee you, if I had to guess how many good churches they have in America, uh, we have in America, you can just take a guess, and maybe you could study it later. I'll look it up, of course. Doesn't tell you which ones are good. I might be wrong. I might be way under here. I'm going to say 50,000. Could be 100,000. Could be 200,000. Could be 30,000. But I'll say, just a guess, at least 50,000. At least I'd say that's I'd say at least 50,000 churches, and so Oprah and different shows they go and find three churches. Which now there's a good side to that. You do want to call those churches out. They made the news though because they were hurting people. It, you know, so I wouldn't say. I'm sure there could be nowadays. There's more really, more of them that are crooked, not necessarily hurting people. They're lying, and that hurts people. So, or there's a lot of churches that support the Democrat Party who kills babies. I mean, you know what I mean. So there's a lot of crooked churches now. But at the same time, I would say I said 3 or 4 churches. There could have been 100, and out of 50,000, that's possible of the violent cults. So that's in the Christian realm sector. They even branch the Mormon Church into the Christian sector, but Mormonism is not Christian. This Seventh Day Adventist is Christian, but the what else? Jesus Christ. Who's the people that Jehovah's Witnesses are not Christian? They claim to be part of the Christian religion, but they're not. The Christian believes that Christ is God, and there's a lot of people that don't understand that even in the Christian churches, the real Christian churches. So, um, but so on the same token, they go out of their way to find that in Christian churches, but they won't seek it out in Islamic churches. They won't, the news media, and so it's double standard. They like false religion better than proven religion. Proven means a proven God, a God that proved he has the power of the second life. Now that's from a, if you're just looking at philosophy and education from an educational standpoint, that's proof. It would, from man's perspective, I guess somebody can disqualify me because man's perspective isn't real philosophy. Well, it is from a man's perspective somehow. I don't know. I'm not going to go into a deep study of this without the Bible right now and try to explain it. But we common knowledge to think that God is in a better place than we are. Anything, I think, even without the Bible, you would tend to think that God's on a higher level than we are. People look for aliens. They talk about aliens and they um, talk about it separately from God. They talk about it as if it's no different than us. I don't know. I won't go into that analysis, but technically, God is an alien. Angels are aliens. Jesus was an alien. So, but they were higher. They were all connected to God, and um, they're higher powers. God is the highest power. These are these are workers for God. The angels, Christ is God, though, but he's alien to this earth. And the sense of alien is uh, he's more supernatural. He's a higher up power than we are. He can be on the earth and not in the earth. Although he's not alien to this earth in the sense that he created it. He put Adam here. He made it a home for his children, right? So in that sense, he's not an alien. And I hadn't thought of that when I called him an alien a long time ago in a book of mine. But he's, you know, so we're always, you know, I've never had a valedictorian type of person rescue me from anything. I don't. That's a thought I had earlier this morning. But you know, I've I'm a thinker. I'm not that student. I'm not a good student. As a matter of fact, it was like it's like why am I going to college to show that I can't keep up with the rest of them? I mean, I don't love college for that. I'm not a, but I am a thinker. I'm a realist more than most. I'm more than most people who go to college, right? So, and I've been to college, but I didn't want to go to college. I believed college was somewhat of a waste for, in my case anyway. I think it is for some people, but I thought I wanted to build houses. I hear the world's complaints and all those things. I'm thinking they're worrying about money too much. I just want to build houses, and I'll build myself a house, build my family a house, build homeless people a house. You know, but then culture led me to go to college, be pressured into college, and some people I've been judged for saying that and told, well, why didn't you get a home building major, you know, carpentry major or whatever? Well, going to college, I thought I'm supposed to find a special talent in college or whatever. So I went for music. Then I changed my major from music when after I was assaulted because my music was going to be ministerial and I was sexually assaulted and had saved myself for marriage prior to that. And I changed my major from the ministry to recreation management last minute, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. I just knew I liked sports, but I also like the outdoors. And like if I redid it, I'd probably choose sport management. And it didn't occur to me to back then. You didn't go to college for carpentry and building houses. That would be a trade school. So I do like trade school ideas. I do like that where you go to work towards your trade specifically. But I wouldn't have thought of building houses. Going to college to learn how to build a house. I'd I'd go learn how to build a house by working with people who build houses and doing it and learning it hands on. So, but now they do have majors for that. But this is back in 1990, 90. So anyhow, I don't. As far as why don't I build houses now? Well, I'd rather draw the blueprints. I'd rather come up with the ideas and tell people how to make the house. I would like to learn, but it's just, I've learned that the biggest thing, I like to chase truth and lies. We got more of those in society than anything, and most people go work a job and don't know why they're doing it. Today, we don't know what the purpose of any job is aside from making money. It's just about, I mean, so I like to continue to. It takes us a long time just to. It can take a while to make a blueprint for one house, and we don't have the best blueprint for houses, by the way. I mean, what's the purpose and the style we make these? What's efficient about most houses we build? I mean, we just have some style that's popular. We go with. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but I would definitely make a different blueprint. I might do that at some point, but do that a little more. But for now, I'm catching up on some stuff. If I right now we got the way our system's built, it has drug cartels stealing, working with Democrats to help steal the even have the right to have a house. So, and how can you get somebody to believe that or listen to it? Because there's so many tricks that distract people from paying attention to any of that, and they're just and so it's a there's a lot of tricks out there that people are completely blind to, and the ones that are successful, they're just glad they were successful, and they think their success came from following all the rules. Well, it did. So certain rules, and does success come from God or following rules? Well, He tells us to follow the rules, and it comes from being within a team, and a lot of times, and not being around people that will hurt you or take away from your success. So, but we have a split society when it comes to that. We have qualified, our society has qualified theft. And if you find that somebody's imperfect, you can steal from them, I guess. And that is mostly in the areas of if somebody uses a medicine or alcohol, even, but usually it's especially illegal medicine. But then the Democrats have played borderline law, border issues, and probably because they've been smuggling drugs in and dumping them on, first of all, in poor neighborhoods. Uh, well, since when? 1940s, 30s, maybe. Maybe when they're the ones that made a lot of stuff illegal by influence of the KKK way back then. And this is just a new thought, and it makes sense. It probably happened like this. They probably started helping smuggle drugs over the border. Well, I mean, you get drugs different places too, by the way. But the popular ones, such as the coca leaf, they didn't bring the leaf, but they brought the concentrated form, which is more dangerous, right? So they brought that through the borders. In my opinion, they probably did, right? So you could call that part of conspiracy theory. But all the evidence shows that they love helping traffic cross our borders that brings those kind of things. So, but then they're the ones that slow down the legal process. Well, why do Democrats not like the legal process of immigration? Why do they mess it up? because people who want freedom are the ones who go through the legal process, usually, right? So now, if you make it easier, well, they don't. So they don't want people who like freedom. I mean, I just uncovered a reality that it's Democrats always pushing to mess up the border. They could make a safe border. They could make a workable border that helps immigrants who want to get here for freedom's sake to come here. That's the problem. You have to, when you have legal immigration and it's a free country, that's one of the criteria. You have to come here and sign that you like the freedom. Well, you know what? People argue with me. Well, who cares? That's not it. That's not it because they could just lie. Well, there's still a criteria to try to figure out if somebody's coming here because they like freedom or if they're coming here to try to mess up freedom. And the weird part is, we have the Democrat side of the country who doesn't like freedom. Now, they like the freedom to kill, they like the freedom to steal, they like the freedom, those kind of freedoms, without consequence. And they like the freedom to be immoral, they like the freedom to make a slave out of somebody, they like all that kind of stuff. And then they pretend they're against slavery somehow by using one ethnicity to pretend they support them as if they're against slavery. So the thing is, since people forget that the same ethnicity who pretends that is the main dealer of slaves over the other ethnicity that gets accused of it. They're the main dealer of slaves, starting in their homeland. And most of the slaves that were traded, I won't say most, at least half, were thieves and killers. And, you know, back then, did they stop thieving and killing while they were uh, some of them while they were slaves? No, sometimes people were hung because they were killing. So you'd see some pictures of lynching, and sometimes that was a murderer being hung. You know, but there's that's not a takeaway from the racist people who did do stuff. But to put it in reality, I'm not allowed to say this. Like, they want to kill me for telling the truth because they want to keep using that illusion to act like they're an authority on lying about who's racist and lying about all this stuff because they want slavery. They're not against slavery. They want slavery. They want to be the slave masters. And that's the ones that push it. And they are slave masters. The ones that push that, they support the drug cartel slavery, those kind of things. They support the prison slavery, and they just hope that they can play the game better than the people who get in trouble, or they can set people up to take their place in jail, all those kind of things. There are all kinds of crooked stuff, or they just want to, they there's a mixture. Some people don't know what they're doing, but a lot of them who know what they're doing are doing those kind of games. But either way, those people gravitate to the Democrat Party to continue playing those drug cartel games, and because it allows them power and be able to trick people. And some people in there are actually just like, they fiend for power, and they like hurting people and killing people. And I mean, you go to cities with lots of lakes and stuff, and they'll and they've there's stories I've heard about certain lakes where in areas that are known for cartel traffic, where they search the lake once a year or something. The, and in one case, there was like 300 bodies found, bodies and body parts, I guess, found in one lake in one of these areas, and then that's just 1 year now. So, and that happens pretty frequently in certain cities. So, that's a real thing. There's a lot of violent people out there. I'm not making that up. Believe it or not, there's some mean people out there. A lot of them, and so now, I mean, there's mean people within any section, but there's actual killers out there. They'll act on the killing, you know. So some of the mean people in other cultures successful cultures, I call it, where it looks peaceable. If they're sitting there talking about, I hope he dies or I hope this happens, a lot of them are actual supporters. Wish they'd just kill him and get rid of him. Wish we could do that. Well, that's why they actually have not spoken against the cultures that do kill people, and because uh, and they don't speak against the killing. They support it, you know, real cunningly support it. So, but if you get called out for people killing somebody, they'll they you become the bad guy for calling it out. But killing should be called. It should be rebuked. Uh, we should be against killing people, especially if it's not an eye for an eye. And if it is an eye for an eye, it needs to be there needs to be good evidence of it. That's why we have trials and juries. And so I understand that nobody trusts the system for that. Hardly anybody does. But I mean, we're not arguing to fix the system on the proper things. We're telling the system to overlook the crimes and let vigilante justice do everything. Well, we need we need a sophisticated system that actually calls out what's important and doesn't overpunish. So it has and is a safe environment to rehabilitate. So the this video was, what do I believe? Well, I'm gonna have to save space on this for more videos. But um, so bottom line, I guess this video mostly proved, hey, human beings are sinners, including me, right? No, duh. So um, I believe that we came from, and we're aware of that too. We're able to be aware that we're sinners and try to do better. But now I heard a Vadi Bacham, I think his name. I forget how you pronounce his name, but I heard him just today, and he's uh, said one of the best explanations that I've ever heard. That you know we don't even have to obey God for salvation. It's Him drawing us. It's we make a choice. It's faith, and I forget what he said. My brain is dead. So it's faith, but it's about faith and grace. Salvation is it's faith, salvation. It's not our obedience. Now once we believe, it's about, but salvation is about believing and accepting the gift. So obedience comes after salvation. It comes technically. Now, I don't want. I'd like to think that over a little more, but um, I guess there's levels of obedience, like obeying a command. So it's because salvation. If you don't accept salvation, we go to hell. Does He command us to go to heaven? We could disobey that. He's saying we have free will. So we do have free will, but obedience is a result. What he said, what Vadi Bacham said, obedience is a result of salvation. It gives us a desire to obey. So I don't. There is a thing where churches have twisted obedience a lot because they'll act like you're supposed to obey this more than this, or and it's a lot of times debatable. Should I even do what they're telling me to do? Is that obedience to God, or is that something, does God actually want me to do something else? So, because then I say that because we have a time limit on life, on our days, on the hour, on we have we don't have an ability to do every task we want to do. Like right now, I'd like to be downloading some songs, and I have a limited number of how many I can do to YouTube per day, youth book, Facebook, YouTube. But I can so I have a limited number I can do. I'd like to redo some songs where I forgot the words, where I went flat when I sing on the low notes. I have a mechanical issue with my voice, where when I open up to hit a low note and I want to hit it with a full tone instead of a smaller tone, and I open my throat, then I can't hear too well while I'm singing. If I'm on pitch, I can't. I'm just trying to get the whole with the vibrato, And so these people with perfect pitch, they complain about that sometimes. But the truth, and then they start imagining that I'm off pitch the whole song. I've run into people like that. But the truth is, I usually come back up to pitch, but I do tend to sometimes go flat on the lower notes, particularly. And then, but don't go off key. I'm still staying the key. I find back, so I'm not losing my key and going flat like that. So I come back to the right note. But part of that, I haven't sung in 30 years, basically. Uh, More than that, as far as actively. And I mostly played trumpet back then, not sing. So I'm injured, damaged, can't play the trumpet. I've tried again. I can't. I'm got a headache from it, and I'm hoping that's not my tumor. So I'm giving it time. Hopefully, this fast helps me know whether I need to rush to the hospital for that. That's part of it. So I did pop something in my head while I was playing, trying to hit a high note, trying to play the trumpet. So I'm getting a beep from probably TikTok. I'm probably gonna get rid of TikTok. So I may. What was I gonna say? Well, I'm talking about the tumor thing. But before that, holy cow, that's the tumor blocking my memory. Well, the tumor, it's been hurting, just and it had not been before. And so just a few months ago, I found out it had not grown. Um, but I don't know uh, where I want to land and go under the knife. So I don't want to rush it either. Like I said, the only reason I'm recording all those songs is to before I have to have any kind of surgery to get that out of the way. So I really would like to hope my voice comes back. I'm not allowed to say this now. I'm hated by people, but I've quit smoking. People don't know smoked. I've never smoked before, but this year I actually did a little smoking, and I've had other problems before, but it's been over a month now since I've smoked anything, and so my voice is still coming back. And so I've never been a regular smoker, but I did maybe 5 times this year, uh, where I stayed out all night and smoked. And then it and injured my throat. One time, something piece of paper caught on fire and landed in the back of my throat, burnt my throat, and that's where I got laryngitis partly. What or and So I'm hoping my voice still heals up. I'm curious now. People might be saying, "Oh, he's just making that excuse," or trying to act like you know he's worried about how his songs sound. No, I mean I do try to make the songs sound good if I can, but I don't have much time to work on them, and especially since I'm trying to do a lot of different songs and my voice gets tired when I practice them. But I'm curious to see what my voice is like. I have to. I'm not, some things about my voice are new from 30 years ago. I'm learning that. So the vibrato, I didn't have. You used to have hardly any vibrato when I was younger. So I kind of like the vibrato on a higher operatic style note. Maybe when I hit a high note, and that's new, but it actually relaxes the voice. But I, as far as so I'm learning that when I do my songs. And but when I get on, sometimes I've sung when I'm very tired, and I don't do the style I was going to do because I just do the straight strong style, which comes out easier. But I like I like starting off soft, and so when I've been doing the opera or the loud singing, sometimes I do that so I don't have to. It's easier in a sense, but and I try to interpret with the words and crescendo or whatever. And you can't hear on this. You can't really hear crescendos when I do it on the phone too much. And but um, I I work with that and try to flavor the message of the song, and then um, but after I've done that, it's hard to sing soft stuff, and I'm hoarse, and so I like doing the soft croony stuff. When I was younger, that came easiest for me to do the soft croony kind of stuff and then switch and hit a high note in the end. I like the song that starts soft and pretty, builds at the end. That's what I like. A lot of people don't. They like it. The pop style has entertainment from beginning to end. And but so a lot of people won't wait through that to hear the message or the fun part of the song, which is usually an ending if I can do that on some songs that are built for that. But anyway, I'm curious to see how my voice works later on, and so I lose. I've lost a few years from maybe hitting a flat note or whatever. I just I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to. I would like to. If I have a song that doesn't turn out good, I wish I could go back and had time to redo it and try to get it right and learn it better, and then hope do it when my voice isn't tired or whatever, or a bad day for my voice. I have a temperamental voice. I do have that too. So it's I don't like losing an ear because I put out good messages. I put out the best songs message wise that I can that speak to the heart. Mike, and I do believe in music as reaching the sentimental side of the mind, of the spirit too, and a way to maybe wake somebody up or get somebody to listen to the truth, listen to uh, the truth about where what do I believe about life. So that's what I'm talking about. What do I believe about life? So there's a lot. I believe a lot of things in analysis and in perspective. But as far as what I believe about life, though, is to simplify it. And I saw this on a post the other day. What would you speak on? And that's where I came up with this, by the way. What would you believe preachers should speak on in church more if they had one thing to talk about? And so I came up with I thought this is life is short, and then it's heaven or hell. Life is short, and then it's heaven or hell. I believe so. I do believe that about life. I believe that life is there is nothing, there's nothing any good about life. Life is nothing. It sucks if you don't believe you're going to heaven. Legitimately, legitimately going to heaven with the evidence that of heaven from Christ and being a person who will forgive and love you and take you to heaven. Life is nothing without that because all you got to look forward to is hell if you don't believe that. And so now a lot of people, because they want to point to people's sins and say, well, you're going to hell. Did David go to hell for sinning with Bathsheba and killing a man even? No. He's God's child. God said it himself. He's a man after his own heart, not for doing that. He's punished for that. But he loved God. He let his flesh get the best of him. And he got scared and did what he did. So Samson is a child of God. And he gave in to Delilah. You know, I'm kind of like Samson. I've had, looking for love in all the wrong places. That reminds me of Eddie Murphy. Looking for love. And I don't even remember that skit, but that's where I've heard the song sung in a funny way. But I was that guy looking for love in all the wrong places. And, you know, pretty much to myself and never causing any problems, but that's gotten me in trouble, or where you could point to sins of mine. But um, hey, I like to say it's not all my fault. I didn't find somebody nice. That's not my fault. I mean, I've looked pretty hard for nice people or people who put God first and all those kind of things, but they didn't cross my path. I'm 50, about to be 51, and I'm glad that I'm single at this point because I'm able to do these extra things and help build my mansion in heaven more. If you're married, you have to put more time into building your mansion on earth, and which I would do that too, single or not married, or I'd do it either way. If we could legally build a place and homestead, I'd go do that or whatever. But um, I've had a lot of issues that have put me in different circumstances that are a little bit complicated in today's world. So, uh, and I've had people put me in those positions. A lot of people want to say, "Well, you take the blame for everything. You got to take the blame. You can't blame somebody else." Well, I've had cars stolen from me. Never any justice for that. No replacement. You know, I've had a lot stolen from me. I'll just put it like that. I'm not gonna go into it. Well, some people say, well, why do you still hang with him? Because, in part, well, I've gone from place to place. They say this, you know, that's where the nice people are. I've, I won't go into that, but I'll say, you're telling me to come hang with you, but all you can do, you can't get over the fact that somebody robbed me before and that I hung there before, and I don't see any peace hanging here with you either. So I'm gonna go to the next city, next ghetto, see if there's nice people there. That sounds crazy, but I've in the past I had done that, but it's not. Uh, I guess it's not crazy because the media tells us the ghetto is the nicest place in the world. But anyway, and if you don't say it is the most friendly, nicest place in the world to be, then you're a racist. So you're a racist for uh, con- you said racist. Do you mean the ghettos? You're saying the ghettos are just black. No, there's white ghettos, but usually the ghetto is poor. It's poor communities that have been overtaken by the drug cartels. So whether it's black or white, that's the problem with that is that drug cartels are for mobs. They're for killing people. They're for being the boss. And that problem is with them killing people. They want their own government. They have their own government in a sense, but they don't double check to see if what they've done is worth the death penalty. Most of the time, they'll kill somebody for something that's not. It's not an eye for an eye, and that's the people who are actually running it and thinking this stuff through. And then you got all the people under them who just get greedy and they'll kill anybody just because they want to be the biggest, baddest person on the planet or whatever it is. There's a lot of straight up bloodthirsty people that come through the cartel type stuff. So, um, you know, I guess I've thought I would run into people who are actually victims. I thought I'd meet nice people. I was a victim of some of those that world, so I thought I'd meet nice people um, among the victims, right? Or escaped victims, or people who wanted to escape. But I've never met somebody who I was able to talk to know if they want to escape those kind of things. And a lot of people don't want to escape it because they don't feel safe outside of it, or it's all confusing. But to me, but maybe sometimes victims become players, or it's just where they feel safe because really it's confusing because the laws are wrong. So you can't. It's hard to tell who's who or what's what because the laws are actually geared to help the cartels to continue what they're doing instead of having a real place to do business. Like this is a debate, but they should put medicines in a liquor store or something. Doctors I wouldn't trust. I mean, but the drug cartels take the place of a real doctor. I don't trust doctors to do their job right today. But I mean, I trust psychiatrists, but guess who's always getting sued? Psychiatrists. Uh, and they've put the psychiatric field out of business practically. And I guess it still exists, but they don't even promote those things anymore. You never in hospitals or anything. They hardly promote psychiatry field unless somebody files for uh, being what do you call it, the Baker Act or whatever. Then they're okay to be in that field. But you know, I guess I'm saying I've been around hospitals. I got a tumor. I got other issues too. So you go, but I've had a broken foot. I've had a bad gallbladder. I've had a lot of things going, but and other things. So you go to, but I've been in the hospitals. They don't point anybody to a psychiatrist or psychologist anymore, and that's probably because of lawsuits. Well, who's promoted? By the way, I did my head. So who's promoted that problem? Well, I'm gonna have to end this video. It's been almost an hour. What do I believe about life? Life is short, and then it's heaven or hell. And we have a choice, and Jesus Christ gives us that choice because He's the one actually who, when we get to the next life, he's going to say, "Depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I never knew you." He's going to say that to the fake believers, the false teachers, and he's going to say it to the ones who, atheists too. "Depart from me, you worker of iniquity, for I never knew you." Then you go to hell. And or he's going to say, "Welcome, welcome in, my beloved son." I forget but actually I forget that verse, by the way. Because I almost quoted that God saying, "This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased." He said that through the dove when Christ was on the earth. But he either welcomes you into heaven, or